All right, so I'm off the board on this one. And I do this occasionally, more on a Friday than on a Wednesday. But given that this is a pandemic and everybody knows Doordash, pretty much everybody has used Doordash. This is where we live. This is what we do right now. I think that this take actually does make sense here. And I've got Roman Harper coming up next segment. So there's this video. You've probably seen it. It's around right now. It did drop a few days back on the internet. It features one of the most amazing exchanges you're ever going to hear between a delivery driver and a customer. I mean, it's baffling. It's really baffling. And there's some unbelievable entitlement coming from the driver. So much so that it seems fake. Except it's not. It's not fabricated. Like, it really went down. The best actors in the world could not pull off these two roles. The greatest writers in the world could not dream up this dialogue. Thankfully for us, it's all captured on tape in pretty decent video quality. Now, I've got the audio for you. Let me take you through the viral sensation of this particular week. But first, you do need to know a few things. For context, the first is Doordash. Doordash is one of the leading food delivery apps right alongside Postmates and Uber Eats. Like, I've used all three. 5 years ago, pizza places were the only restaurants, pretty much, that would drive your grub to your home. But that all changed because there are half a dozen companies that now will go to any joint, seemingly, and grab whatever you ordered from wherever you ordered it. I mean, seriously, if sitting in a drive-thru is too much work for you now, you can pay somebody to do it on your behalf. I mean, sure, your $5 stoner munchies from Taco Bell will come out to be like $30 after fees and a tip. But you'd be surprised how many people will pay for the luxury of cold, soggy, fast food brought to them by an absolute stranger, especially in a pandemic. Particularly in a pandemic. You don't believe me? 50 million Americans ordered off a food delivery app last year. More than 1 in 5 people in this country have a delivery app on their phone. So it's a thing. It's a real thing, and it's a big thing. Now, the other bit of context that you need is that a lot of homeowners now and renters have installed doorbells that also double as security cameras. They record audio and video at all times. These doorbells have captured would-be burglars, porch pirates, and roaming animals, and the occasional Amazon driver who slips and falls on ice and then gets laughed at by the entire internet. So, when I tell you that there's sound that I'm about to play, and that it's of a Doordash driver and a customer having a conversation with the customer, recording it through a high-tech doorbell, you know exactly what I mean, right? You probably have one of those things. So check this out. There's your context. There's your background. The first voice you're going to hear is the customer, the homeowner, speaking through his doorbell, telling the Doordash driver she can just leave the food on the doorstep and he will come and get it. Remember, all the payments and the tips are taken care of ahead of time on the app. There is no exchange of money at the door. Here is the first part of the interaction.
You can leave it, thank you.
No, I could speak to you, actually.
I'm sorry?
I need to speak to you. I don't think you realize where they're coming from, so I need to speak to you.
Where what's coming from?
Where the food you ordered is coming from. I don't think you realize the distance that it's come from, because then you would never actually have given what you gave. So I think you can come and see face to face.
All right, so fireworks right off the bat. The driver refusing to leave the food, which is already paid for, and demanding that the customer come out of his house and have a face-to-face conversation to discuss how far away the restaurant was from his house. Like, in other words, she's like, you can come out here and explain to me why you tip me the way you tip me, because I need to explain to you how far I had to come to drop your food off. I mean, she's implying it. Like, you have no idea how far I had to drive. And if you did know how far I had to drive, and you and I are going to talk about this now, if you knew, you would have given me a much better tip. I mean, she literally right from the jump is on this guy. So that's a great start. But then it gets better.
Because I drove 40 minutes. And it was extremely far, and I got it to you early. So I don't think you realize where you ordered from.
I don't understand. You
Well,
took 40
I think-
minutes from where?
From the restaurant that you ordered from. Do you realize how far it is? Do you realize you ordered from Colmac and you're in Smithtown?
That's a 15, 20-minute drive.
It's not. You need to try to drive it. I just drove it. It's 40 minutes. It's 12 and a half miles.
Dude, how brass is this gal? I mean, you want to talk about some gonad. Like, she's right there screaming into his doorbell. I mean, is this real life? Is that delivery driver really scolding a customer and telling him how far the restaurant was and demanding to speak to him about it face to face? Yes, and yes, she is. Unfortunately for her, we live in the age of information, meaning it's not that hard for anybody with an internet connection to connect the dots and check the facts. Yes, you just heard her claim that she drove 12 and a half miles and that it took her 40 minutes. First off, that is not the customer's problem at all. Secondly, Colmac, New York to Smithtown, New York I've got friends in New York. I've got people who work on this show in New York. They could tell you much better than I could. I just looked it up myself, but they could tell you that's not a 5.5 mile drive. I mean, it's not 12 and a half. It's 5.5. That's a 5.5 mile drive, not the 12.5 mile drive that she said. And while she says it takes 40 minutes, Google Maps says it takes 14.
So get your facts
I don't know. Maybe she hit traffic. Or maybe she walked, or maybe she took the back roads. Either way, none of this is on the customer. It's not his fault. She sucks at her job. However, she's upset now. She's upset that he had the audacity to order food off of an app that she works for, and that she accepted that job when it popped up on her phone. But she's not done. Oh no, there's more.
So why did you accept the pickup if you think it's that far?
They don't let us know how far.
So she kind of talks over him at the beginning. But if you listen, the customer asks, why did you accept the pickup if you think it's so far? I mean, such a good question, right? And she answers with, quote, Doordash doesn't let us know how far the deliveries are before accepting them.
So why did you accept the pickup if you think it's that far?
They don't let us know how far.
Again, an easy thing to fact check. And again, she was lying because DoorDash does let every driver know how far delivery is before accepting it. SOP. SOP. Standard operating procedure. Strike two, ma'am. And now she's 0-2. She's in trouble. And for the grand finale.
So I think you need to adjust your tip to make it right.
How much is the tip?
You gave an $8 tip.
What the hell are you looking for? I gave an $8.
Okay, I'm going to bring the food back. I'm going to bring the food back. Okay.
Strike three. GTFOH. She said, you need to give me a bigger tip. He said, what the hell for? I gave you $8. The entire impetus for this woman's anger is that the customer's tip was not good enough for the job that she just completed. A job that she lied about, but a job that she just completed. Never mind that the job is the job. And the job was not nearly half as grueling as she made it out to be. But she's bent over an $8 tip. I don't know, to be fair, I don't know what the bill was, but do some math right here. $8 sounds like a pretty good tip. I mean, I generally over tip because there are enough people taking enough runs at me that I don't want to be called a cheapskate. So I always over tip because I appreciate the service industry. So I probably would have given her what she wanted unless she gave me that attitude, then probably not. But in this case, $8 is a pretty good tip, right? Especially for a 6-mile drive. Not the greatest tip ever. That's not one of those celebrities that in the year 2020 drops $2,020 on some waitress who's just grinding out. But $8 for that woman to do what she did is not a bad tip at all. Remember, she's not a server. She's driving a bag from point A to point B. She got $8 for it on top of her wages earned from Doordash. Listen again as the guy laughs when she reminds him of the tip itself.
How much is the tip?
You gave an $8 tip.
What the hell are you looking for? I gave an $8.
Okay, I'm going to bring the food back. I'm going to bring the food back. Okay.
All right, so we're missing one really important part of this, right? So he literally laughs at her. Like, what the hell are you looking for? It's $8, man. What do you want, 80? What do you want, 800? But then she dips. She literally repos the food. And it's all on video. You heard her. She said, all right. I'm going to take the food back. She takes prepaid, not pre-made, prepaid food. He paid for the food already. He tipped her for it already. And she takes the food. Food that was prepaid for, food that she got tipped on, and she walked it right back to her car. And you heard her threaten to take it back to the restaurant. Back into the restaurant. What the hell are they going to do with it? What are they going to want with that food? Hey, yo, I drove this back to you because the guy who ordered it did not believe me that my 15-minute, 6-mile drive was a 40-minute, 13-mile drive, and he tried to give me $8. I mean, who is going to have her back on that? Not the customer, not the restaurant, not her employer, not DoorDash, not the internet, not me, not you. Hey, lady, you don't get to lie multiple times about a delivery, demand to see somebody face-to-face in a pandemic, and then chastise them and scold them for the tip, which is a pretty good tip, and then repo their food like a tow truck driver. That's not how this thing works. Speaking of not working, probably safe to say you're not going to be working for DoorDash much longer. The idea is to bring people their food, not get caught on camera, leaving with it and lying to them and demanding a better tip. But least of all, at least with your newfound free time, you can probably listen back to how incredibly misguided and entitled that you are and sound because everybody else is. And now you're famous. I'll give you that. You're famous for all the wrong reasons, but you are famous.
You can leave it. Thank you.
No, I could speak to you, actually.
I'm sorry?
I need to speak to you. I don't think you realize where they're coming from, so I need to speak to you.
Where what's coming from?
Where the food you ordered is coming from. I don't think you realize the distance that it comes from, because then you would never actually have given what you give. So I think you can come and see face to face. Because I drove 40 minutes, and it was extremely far, and I got it to you early. So I don't think you realize where you ordered from.
I don't understand. You
Well,
did 4
I think
minutes from where?
From the restaurant that you ordered from. Do you realize how far it is? Do you realize you ordered from Colmac and you're in Smithtown?
That's a 15, 20-minute drive.
It's not. You need to try to drive it. I just drove it. It's 40 minutes. It's 12 and a half miles.
So
So I
what do
think
you expect to pick up if you think it's that far?
they don't let us know how far. So I think you need to adjust your tip to make it right.
How much is the tip?
You gave an $8 tip.
What the hell are you looking for? I gave an $8.
Okay, I'm going to bring the food back. I'm going to bring the food back. Okay.
Are you kidding?
$8? That's a lot.
40 minutes it took her to get her? Okay.
That's the husband and wife talking at the very end. Nice little bonus. Is she bleeping kidding? $8, that's a lot. 40 minutes. He's like, it took you 15 to 20, maybe. She's like, that's it, I'm out. Adjust your tip or I'm taking the food back. Absolutely incredible. All right, when we come back, I said it was off the board. I know it was off the board. I'm just saying, in this pandemic, we've all dealt with something like that, but nobody's handled it like that. There's nobody listening who can say, yeah, I've had that same kind of conversation. Rome. As a full-time dasher, I am appalled at that girl's behavior. I pride myself on being professional and not confronting the customer. I know that our community feels the same way. Rick in Des Moines, 2 drivers saying the exact same thing. You don't bring it to the customer. You bring the food to the customer. You don't bring the ride or whatever happened at the restaurant to the customer. You be a professional in anything you do. Those two are. At FlapJakes027 tweets, that lady should be appreciative to have a laid-back gig during this extremely stressful time for most. Total scumbaggery. Chris in Montana tweets, Doordash rules. Regards, drunks. Wells in the 360, quote, I don't know why that Doordash driver was complaining. That's $7.50 more than I would have tipped her. Signed Matt Kuchar.
Kutcher.
Romy. Damn. Even I think that lady has an attitude. Regards, the girl at Rome's Juice Bar. Ashley in Nebraska. Ashley, you made it in. You kept your streak alive. You got something red. Let's see here. What else? At Hitman Canadian tweets, 12 and a half miles. That's nothing. Signed the Proclaimers. That always cracks me up. Let's roll some telephone calls quickly. Long Island, Charlie. What's going on, Charlie? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Great.
So I lived in Smithtown for about 30 years.
Okay.
And there's no way that would take 40 minutes.
Right,
even if she hit a car accident or massive traffic or anything.
All right, so how long should that take?
Probably 15 minutes, 15 to 20.
Right. Like the guy said, my man Charlie, nice job. Charlie said, I lived in that town, all right? There's no way that took her 40 minutes. Like the customer said, 15 or 20. Let's go to Bobby in Texas. What's going on, Bobby? How are you?
Hey, Jim. Long time, first time.
Good to have you.
So just something for the young lady in New York. For those of us who work DoorDash full-time, stop giving us a black eye. We're out here busting our ass trying to put food on our table and feed our families.
I appreciate you, man. I really do. Bobby, thank you so much. He said, stop giving us a black eye. We're out here busting our ass, trying to put food on the table and feed our families. Stop making us all look bad, lady. Let's go to Dennis in Las Vegas. We're banging telephone calls at the end of the program. Good to have you. Dennis, how are you?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Good. Really good.
I dash full time here in Vegas, and my head almost exploded hearing that. $8. I would walk the delivery for $8. Are you kidding me? And the whole professional thing, man, come on, lady. I pull up to houses, I'm high-fiving kids, kissing babies. It's all a good time. There was no reason for that, and I'm hoping that next dash that she gets, she acts a little more professional.
I got you, Dennis. Nice job. Nice to talk to you. Dennis said $8. That is such a good tip. I would walk the delivery in for $8. I'm kissing babies. I'm high-fiving customers. Let's go to Larry in Alabama. Hey, Larry, how are you?
Rome, hey, my guess on the DoorDash lady is this. There's a lot of closed strip clubs out there, so she's probably picked up a gig, delivered food, but the tips aren't commensurate to what she's accustomed to, and she thinks, hey, if I get this guy face-to-face, I can negotiate a more generous tip.
Ouch, Larry. All right. Larry just said she's probably an out-of-work stripper, and the tips are not commensurate with what she's accustomed to, and that's why she wanted him to come out face-to-face so she could negotiate the tip.